Ashley's thumb hovered over the profile on her phone screen. She had sworn off dating apps months ago, but the sense of loneliness was hard to shake. With a deep breath, she swiped right. A small thrill sparked as the notification appeared. It's a match. Dylan's profile photo showed a friendly smile beneath warm brown eyes, giving off a reassuring vibe. His bio was simple yet thoughtful, just a man seeking to make genuine connections. Ashley hesitated before sending a message, unsure if she was ready to open up to someone new. But Dylan's initial message surprised her. It wasn't the typical small talk. Instead, he asked about her favorite book, revealing his interest in something beyond superficial banter. Their conversation quickly turned lively, flowing easily over shared interests and light-hearted jokes. Dylan's humor and sincerity caught Ashley off guard. She found herself smiling more than she had in months. They began texting daily, and each message felt like peeling back another layer of the other. Dylan shared his love for hiking and photography, while Ashley talked about her passion for cooking and writing. Despite the deepening connection, Ashley remained cautious, giving only glimpses of her past and steering clear of any discussions that could reveal too much. 2 weeks later, Dylan suggested they meet in person. Ashley's initial reaction was panic. Her instincts screamed to retreat. But the warmth in Dylan's words and his gentle persistence won her over. They agreed to meet at a small cafe downtown, a public place that felt safe enough for Ashley's guarded heart. On the day of the date, Ashley stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair for the 5th time. Anxiety mingled with excitement as she wondered what Dylan was really like beyond the screen. As she stepped out the door, a fleeting thought lingered in the back of her mind. What if he's different from how he seems? The scene was set for their first encounter, a mixture of anticipation, hope, and unspoken secrets waiting to be revealed. Ashley arrived at the cafe a few minutes early, hoping the familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee would calm her nerves. She settled into a corner booth, her heart pounding with both excitement and anxiety. The uncertainty of meeting Dylan in person made her feel vulnerable, but it was a vulnerability mixed with hope, a hope she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. She watched as Dylan entered, scanning the room with a curious yet gentle gaze. When his eyes found hers, he broke into a broad, reassuring smile. "Hey, Ashley," he greeted warmly as he slid into the seat across from her. His presence was more comforting than she expected, his easygoing demeanor instantly putting her at ease. They began with the usual small talk, work, hobbies, favorite foods, but the conversation quickly took a more personal turn. Dylan shared stories about growing up in a small town, talking about family traditions and funny mishaps with a nostalgic smile. Ashley found herself laughing along, genuinely enjoying his company. The atmosphere was light, and Ashley let her guard down slightly, feeling safe in Dylan's presence. There was a moment when Dylan asked about her family, and Ashley hesitated. "It's a bit complicated," she admitted, shifting uncomfortably. Dylan sensed the tension and quickly changed the subject, asking about her favorite places to visit instead. His sensitivity made her feel understood, even without having to explain everything. As the afternoon passed, the cafe became quieter, with only a few patrons lingering over their drinks. Ashley and Dylan ordered dessert, sharing a slice of cheesecake, finding it to be another unexpected moment of closeness. Dylan teased Ashley when she got a bit of whipped cream on her nose, making her laugh and feel lighter than she had in years. Outside the cafe, the air was cool and crisp. Dylan seemed reluctant to let the evening end. "I really enjoyed this," he said sincerely, his eyes never leaving hers. Ashley smiled shyly. "Me too," she replied, her voice soft. Dylan hesitated, then asked, "Would you like to do this again sometime? Maybe dinner next time?" Ashley's heart skipped a beat. Despite the lingering fear of the unknown, she felt a growing sense of warmth toward Dylan. "I'd like that," she answered honestly. They exchanged a lingering glance before parting ways, each of them feeling the promise of something special. Ashley walked away with a mixture of excitement and uncertainty, an unfamiliar but welcome sensation. In the weeks that followed, Ashley and Dylan's bond grew stronger with each meeting. Their dates became more frequent, shifting from quick coffee breaks to full evenings exploring the city together. One night, they decided to take a walk through the park. The air was cool, and the dim streetlights cast a soft glow on the pathway, creating an atmosphere of intimacy. Dylan reached for Ashley's hand, his touch tentative at first. When she didn't pull away, he squeezed gently. "You know," he began, "I never thought I'd enjoy walking in the park this much. But with you, it's different?" Ashley smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "It's the company," she teased lightly, but her words carried sincerity. She was becoming more comfortable around Dylan, allowing herself to enjoy the simplicity of their moments together. It was a feeling she had missed for so long, one of normalcy and connection. As they continued down the path, they stumbled upon a street musician playing a slow, romantic tune. Without hesitation, Dylan pulled Ashley closer. "Dance with me?" he asked, his eyes twinkling playfully. It was a bold move, one that caught Ashley off guard, but she found herself nodding. They swayed gently to the music, their bodies close and movements uncoordinated yet sweetly genuine. For a moment, Ashley forgot the fears that had haunted her. She was simply a woman dancing under the stars with a man who made her feel safe. Later that night, they sat on a bench, sipping hot chocolate. Dylan looked at her with a serious expression. "Ashley, I know there are parts of your life you're not ready to share, and I respect that. But I want you to know that I'm here, no matter what." His words were filled with sincerity, and Ashley felt tears welling up in her eyes. She wasn't used to such kindness, to someone caring about her without expecting anything in return. "Thank you, Dylan," she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. "It means more than you know." The vulnerability of the moment made Ashley realize just how deeply she was falling for him. She had tried to keep her distance, to protect herself, but Dylan's kindness was breaking down her walls, one by one. As the night came to an end, they shared a tender kiss, one that was filled with both passion and an unspoken promise. It was the kind of kiss that spoke of new beginnings, of love that was not rushed but deeply felt. Ashley knew that her feelings for Dylan were real, and as she watched him walk away, she felt a flicker of hope. For the first time in years, she believed that maybe she could have a future filled with happiness, not just survival. As their relationship deepened, Ashley felt an increasing need to be honest with Dylan. She realized that hiding her past was no longer sustainable, especially as her feelings for him grew stronger. One quiet afternoon at Dylan's apartment, the weight of her secret became too much to bear. They were sitting on the couch, sharing stories about their childhoods, when Ashley suddenly fell silent. Dylan sensed her shift and reached out, touching her hand gently. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Ashley looked down, her eyes welling with tears. "Dylan, there's something I need to tell you," she began, her voice trembling. Dylan's expression grew serious, his eyes searching hers for answers. "You can tell me anything," he reassured her. Ashley took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I haven't been completely honest with you. I'm not just here to start a new life, I'm running from my past. My ex was abusive, and I had to leave everything behind to escape him." Dylan's eyes widened, shock and sadness filling his gaze. "Ashley, I had no idea," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry you went through that." Ashley nodded, wiping away a stray tear. "It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I had no choice. He was controlling and dangerous, and I knew I needed to leave before it got worse." Dylan moved closer, wrapping his arms around her in a protective embrace. "I can't imagine how hard that must have been," he whispered. "But I'm here now. You don't have to face this alone." Ashley's heart felt lighter, though fear still lingered. She hadn't expected Dylan's response to be so accepting, so full of understanding. It was a moment of raw vulnerability, one that deepened their connection and brought them closer. For the first time, Ashley allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could build a future without the shadows of her past looming over her. In the days following Ashley's confession, their relationship took on a new depth. Dylan was more attentive than ever, checking in on her well-being and making sure she felt safe. Ashley felt reassured, but there was still a sense of unfinished business lingering between them. One evening, as they sat on Ashley's balcony watching the sunset, Dylan's face took on a somber expression. He seemed to be battling with himself, and Ashley couldn't ignore the tension any longer. "Dylan, is something wrong?" she asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. Dylan sighed heavily, his eyes reflecting a mix of guilt and uncertainty. "Ashley, there's something I need to tell you," he admitted, his voice low. "It's about me, about who I really am." Ashley's heart sank, sensing the gravity of his words. "What do you mean?" she asked, a knot forming in her stomach. Dylan hesitated before continuing. "My real name is Michael, and I'm a private investigator. I was hired by your ex to find you." The words hit Ashley like a punch. Her face went pale as she processed the revelation. "You were working for him?" she asked, her voice breaking with a mix of disbelief and betrayal. "Yes," Michael confessed. "But it's not what you think. At first, it was just a job, but everything changed when I got to know you. I stopped caring about the assignment and started caring about you." Ashley's eyes were filled with tears. "How can I believe you now?" she asked, her voice trembling. Michael's face was etched with regret. "I understand if you don't trust me," he said softly. "But I want you to know that my feelings for you are real. I want to protect you, not hurt you." The silence between them was heavy, filled with the pain of broken trust. Ashley felt torn between the desire to run and the lingering hope that Michael's words were genuine. She knew it would take time to rebuild trust, if that was even possible. Ashley's mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Michael's confession had shattered her trust, but there was something in his eyes, genuine regret mixed with an earnest desire to make things right. Despite her instinct to run, a part of her wanted to believe him, to hold on to the connection they had built. Sitting across from him in her small living room, she finally broke the silence. "If you really want to help me," she began slowly, "then we need a plan, one that ensures my safety, regardless of what happens between us." Michael nodded, relief evident in his expression. "I'll do whatever it takes," he promised. "I know I've lost your trust, but I want to earn it back, even if it's just by keeping you safe." Over the next few days, they worked together to strategize their next move. Michael suggested creating a false trail, using his expertise as an investigator to mislead Ashley's ex and buy them more time. He contacted trusted friends in law enforcement, setting up a protective net around her that was as discreet as it was effective. Ashley was cautious, but she couldn't deny Michael's dedication. He seemed genuinely committed to her safety, and his actions spoke louder than his words. They spent long hours mapping out escape routes, practicing emergency protocols, and making sure every detail was covered. Despite the seriousness of the situation, there were moments of unexpected tenderness, like when Michael reached out to brush a strand of hair from Ashley's face, or when she caught him looking at her with a mix of longing and regret. One night, as they sat side by side going over plans, Ashley felt a surge of vulnerability. "Why did you really change sides?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael looked into her eyes, his expression sincere. "Because I fell in love with you," he admitted. "At first, it was unexpected, even confusing, but it became real. And now, all I want is to make sure you're safe." Tears welled up in Ashley's eyes. It was hard to accept his words fully, but the way he had been acting left little room for doubt. "I don't know if I can ever completely trust you," she said honestly, "but I'm willing to try, at least for now." Michael nodded, a small, hopeful smile appearing on his face. "That's enough for me," he said quietly. The plan was set, but Ashley couldn't shake the feeling of impending danger. Michael had reassured her that everything was in place, but deep down, she knew that the final confrontation with her ex was inevitable. It was only a matter of time before he caught up to her, and she was determined to be ready when that moment arrived. One evening, as they were preparing dinner in a temporary hideout, Michael's phone buzzed. His expression darkened as he read the message. "He's close," he said, his voice tense. "It looks like he's figured out part of our plan." Ashley's heart raced, but instead of fear, she felt a surge of determination. "Then we face him," she said firmly, surprising even herself with the strength in her voice. Michael looked at her, impressed by her resolve. "Are you sure?" he asked, his eyes filled with concern. Ashley nodded. "I'm tired of running. This ends now." The next day, as dusk settled over the city, They received word that Ashlay's ex was approaching their location. Michael quickly secured the perimeter, making sure that all exits were covered. "Stay close to me," he instructed, his tone protective. The confrontation happened in a deserted parking lot behind an old warehouse. Ashlay's ex emerged from the shadows, a sinister smile on his face. "I knew you couldn't hide forever," he sneered, his voice filled with menace. Michael stepped forward, positioning himself between Ashlay and the man who had caused her so much pain. "This is over," he said firmly. "You won't hurt her anymore." The ex glared at Michael, his expression turning dangerous. "You think you can protect her? She belongs to me." Ashlay, summoning all the courage she had left, spoke up. "I don't belong to you or anyone," she said, her voice strong and defiant. "I'm not afraid of you anymore." The ex lunged at Michael, a viciousness in his movements fueled by anger and desperation. The struggle was intense, but Michael managed to overpower him, pinning him to the ground. Ashlay stood back, her body trembling but her spirit unbroken. With the sound of sirens approaching, Michael kept his grip firm until the police arrived and took the ex into custody. Ashlay watched as he was led away in handcuffs, a mixture of relief and disbelief washing over her. Michael turned to Ashlay, his face a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "It's finally over," he said, his voice soft yet filled with relief. Ashlay's eyes filled with tears, not of fear, but of liberation. "Thank you," she whispered, stepping closer to him. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Michael wrapped his arms around her, holding her tightly. "You're stronger than you think, Ashlay. You did this." You faced him. They stood together, embracing under the fading light, knowing that the battle was behind them. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about a chance to finally start over. With her past finally behind her, Ashlay felt a sense of freedom she hadn't known in years. She and Michael decided to relocate to a quiet coastal town, where the ocean's soothing waves matched the calm she now felt within. It was a place where she could finally heal and rebuild her life. Their days became a blend of simplicity and joy, mornings spent strolling along the beach, afternoons exploring small cafes, and evenings filled with laughter as they cooked dinner together. The weight of their past seemed to fade with each sunset. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they sat on the sandy shore, the cool breeze carrying the scent of salt water. Michael turned to Ashlay, his eyes reflecting both warmth and hope. "You know, when I first met you, I never imagined we'd end up here," he said, his voice soft but filled with sincerity. "But I'm glad we did." Ashlay smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I never thought I'd find peace like this," she admitted. "Or love." Michael's hand found hers, and he gently intertwined their fingers. "I know I hurt you before, and I'll always regret that," he said, his voice tinged with both vulnerability and honesty. "But I'm grateful you gave me a chance to make things right." Ashlay looked up at him, her eyes shining with both forgiveness and affection. "You've more than made up for it," she replied. "And I'm glad I took that chance too." The moment was silent yet filled with unspoken promises. The past no longer loomed over them as a threat but existed as a reminder of their resilience and the love they had fought to protect. As they watched the waves crash gently against the shore, Michael suddenly stood up, pulling Ashlay with him. "Dance with me," he said with a playful smile. Ashlay laughed, surprised but delighted. "Here? In the sand? Why not?" he replied, his eyes twinkling. They swayed together, barefoot on the sand, moving to a rhythm only they could hear. The dance was slow, filled with the kind of intimacy that can only come from shared struggles and deep understanding. When Michael leaned in to kiss her, it was a kiss that held all the emotions they had experienced, a blend of relief, love, and a new beginning. As they pulled away, Ashlay whispered, "I think we're finally free." Michael nodded, holding her close. "Yes, we are." The future was uncertain, but it was theirs, filled with hope, love, and the promise of a life they could build together, one step at a time.